G'day, cheers for heading out bush with us and Gus as we learn to craft, construct, cook and cultivate off the grid. The setting for this adventure, 69 hectares of rocks and trees southwest of Brisbane that we call TFC Bush 1. Our mission? To inspire others to reconnect with nature and to one day share this special place with our community. In episode 1, we take a crew of friends and family out to Bush 1 for a classic working bee as we start to lay the foundations for Bush HQ. But it's not all work and no play. The creek dishes up as many curveballs as Gus's games, we fire up the sauna, and Jim whips up a cracker campfire roast. After weeks of rain, finally a weekend with some clear skies, so we decided to get a crew together and head out to Bush 1. And didn't the scenic rim put on a show for us? Before we get to all of that, of course, a quick pit stop for a brekkie and a brew in Boona at our favourite local, the Clive Arthur Bakery. All charged up, we hit the dirt road. It's a drive we'll never get sick of, especially at the moment. The paddocks are so lush, the dam is filling up, and creeks are flowing. And that would present our first obstacle of the weekend. There's only one way into Bush 1, and when it rains, the driveway can go from a trickle to a torrent pretty quickly. Just a few days earlier, she was raging. You can probably see from the big logs suspended above the creek just how high the water came. Thankfully, by the time we arrived on Saturday, it was much more manageable. So, off to camp we marched. The property runs along the base of a mountain range, so water can be flowing through camp for days, even weeks after a big deluge. Until recently, this land had been in serious drought, so to see it this green really is something to celebrate. Oh, wow. With our gear unloaded and a fire going, we were ready to get to work, and priority one was more wood. Jim's Uncle Gus had just arrived with his ute, so we hopped in the back and headed up the road. This big old tree fell during the fires and would be the perfect fuel to keep our campfire burning well into the night.
I'm cutting up for the open fire and for blockwood a bit further down.
Fourth time's a charm. With the wood stocks replenished, Gus wanted to show us a few of his newest games. He calls this one bowling golf. Not much to the name and not much to the game, but it's harder than Seb and Hazza make it look. Although it was a bit of a different story with the club in hand. From one big swing to another, we were ready for our first proper dip of the weekend. It really doesn't get much better than this. A brief disclaimer about my choice of pink glove though. A midweek accident with an axe got the better of my thumb. It is on the mend, and there was no way I was missing out on this. Refreshed and ready to go again, next task was to collect more she-oaks to complete the Bush HQ A-frame structure.
I got to have some for barge boards and a couple more battens I got to put up. I first noticed when one day I came by and there was this whole hillside that had them cleared from it, and I was like, wow. And Glenn explained that he doesn't like them. When he gets a chance, he goes and cuts them down, and then it's true, after that you can see through the forest. Yeah. See there now, you can't see through it. Yeah. Because they're all she-oaks. They occupy the middle story. Yeah. And so when they're not there, it's like a summer glade and the grass does grow better. I will extend him that concession. Yeah. And because he doesn't like them and cuts them down, I feel real good about harvesting them for him. As a neighbourly gesture.
But with the creek too high to drive the load of logs across, we were going to have to get creative. So, using a human chain, one by one, we ferried the trunks over the flowing creek, ready to be installed the following day. But with today's light starting to fade and the campfire calling, it was time to go prep dinner. On the menu, Mexican-style pulled pork. As we waited for the campfire to work its magic, we thought we'd let the sauna do the same. It works on a pretty basic principle. Fill the Jacko steam generator with water, get a fire going in its belly. When the water boils, the steam flows into a sauna Gus built out of old recycled Perspex, and once she's pumping, it doesn't take long for the heat to build. Same goes for that camp oven we chucked on a couple of hours earlier. The result? Well worth the wait. We woke up to another Perla morning, and with the creek level dropping even further overnight, it meant we were able to get the ute across and pick up our load of logs from the day before, and then carry them the rest of the journey to Bush HQ. It's currently more of a construction site. Our vision is to eventually replicate what Gus has built at the other camp here about 1 kilometre upstream.
The plan was to chuck the roof on today because Gus got a heap of second-hand or probably third-hand iron for like $20, which we can use as a roof. But got delayed yesterday because we couldn't cross the creek. It was still too strong, but we got across today, and now we're just putting the final touches on the beams. We need some beams across the top to accommodate the roof, so we're getting prepared. Gus is doing his Cobb & Co wiring.
The Cobb & Co is a classic bush building skill. All you need is a pair of fencing pliers, the right wire and technique, and you can build almost anything. With most of the final modifications now finished on the A-frame, attention then turned to the site of our future campfire, where it was all hands on deck to clear the existing scrub and level the area. Before using the rocks uncovered during the dig to build a retaining wall and begin paving it. All up a pretty busy day, deserving of yet another dip, this time in our own private baths. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We'll catch you on our next trip out bush.